Johannesburg City Power has announced a new electricity preservation system which could reduce load shedding. It will pick up users who are above threshold and remotely send a signal to smart meter boxes exceeding usage limits. For more, we are joined by energy expert Mthunzi Luthuli. Mthunzi, good evening and thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening, and good evening to the viewers.
Now, a lot of us have, as South African citizens, have been struggling with load shedding. City Power now having taken over some parts and controlling the load shedding. Still, as citizens, we are not particularly pleased with this. What do you make of this new plan of load limiting, as they call it?
Okay, look, it might provide some relief to electricity users in the sense that, instead of being load shed completely, such that you get absolutely no electricity, that you get notified of the fact that the system is under strain and you are asked to switch off things like geysers and other units and elements in the household that consume a lot of electricity. And but you still have your lights and you still run your fridge or something like that. So it is a little bit of a relief in that sense. But I must stress, what we need to do is to get rid of load shedding altogether by making sure that we've got sufficient generation capacity. That is the only thing that will relieve electricity users from the pain of the shortage of sufficient generation capacity.
Now, with that said, I mean, is it not simply a play on the words, Mthunzi, load limiting, load shedding, and understandably that as citizens we will be skeptical about these new innovations? Yeah,
and you know what? It's not even a new innovation, but this technology has been in existence for many, many years. In fact, Eskom uses it in. They've got it in one of the. I think it's one of the mega flex tariffs, where they apply the same principle to big power users. Okay. And they're able to switch them off, or at least part of their usage remotely. So it's not even a new innovation. It's been there for quite a while. But you're right, and this is why I say that the challenge that we have as South Africa is really just to make sure that there's enough electricity to meet the needs of the country, both at household level and at business level and industrial level.
And just, I mean, I want to go into that a little bit deeper, but just going back to this load limiting system. So with a household, will it maybe, for instance, pick up if my geyser has been on for long, and if they switch it off remotely, what do they limit the power that is available to me and limit it in such a way that I will not be able to access and use appliances that require high energy?
Yeah. No, so the control that they have, that the municipality has, is up to your meter, okay? And not beyond the meter, okay? At least at this stage. And so what they said they would do is that they would send a message to you, if you've got a smart meter. They would send the message to you as the user to say, look, the system is under strain. We need you to reduce your consumption. And then it'll be up to you then to switch off your geyser and your swimming pool pump and whatever it is that you need to switch off.
So they will not have the capacity to switch me off if I don't comply with that message that says your usage is above the allowed limit.
Yes, that is that is what I understood from City Power's message. Yes.
Mm. Well, I guess at the end of the day, then it still leaves control in the hands of the user, isn't it? In that I will decide.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Yes, it does. There are situations in other parts of the world where the utility does have direct access to, for instance, your geyser or your swimming pool pump, and they can switch those off directly. But given what City Power says, it looks as if they will only be able to send you a message saying, please reduce your consumption, switch off your geyser, switch off your swimming pool pump. So the control and the power is still within the customer. But if the customer doesn't comply, then the municipality can switch it off completely. You see?
I see.
So, yeah, so I'm not quite sure how much control you have. And the philosophical issues that we can discuss in terms of the rights of users, what rights do they have, what rights does the utility have, or, you know, that type of thing. But that is the situation as announced by City.
Will this apply to all users, prepaid and otherwise, from your understanding?
What they said was that it's going to apply to users who have smart meters. Okay? I suppose because they can send them messages and they can read off how much the users are using of the smart meters. For electricity users who don't have smart meters, they will be subjected to the normal load shedding.
Mm. You know, while we have you on the line, Mthunzi, if I may, just slightly moving away from the issue, you touched earlier on the fact that the only other way is to find solutions to the power crisis that we have in South Africa. From your vantage point, are we seeing any positives coming into that? I mean, today we heard of the announcement of a donation of a number of generators, which a lot of South Africans looked at it and were like, well, is this really part of the solutions that we are having? Will this work? Do you feel like we are on the right track to try and deal with this energy crisis?
You know, to be honest, I don't think we are on the right track. Because what we are doing more than anything else is to try and add more and more renewables. Okay? Now, I don't know if you've been following the debates around renewables, but renewables are not our optimum solution. Okay? They can assist here and there, but what we really need to be doing is going back to the conventional power generation sources. So I often say the low-hanging fruit are the units that are not working at ESCOM. Okay, so if you look at the UCLF, what they call the unplanned capacity loss factor, UCLF, at ESCOM, it sits around 15,000, 16,000 megawatts. Okay, that is the power that we don't have because the units are broken down. Now, if you were to have a dedicated program, intensive program that is properly funded, properly resourced with people who know what they're doing in terms of maintenance, they go into ESCOM and they refurbish all of those units properly. You know, I don't know, let's say each unit takes 6 months to properly refurbish and repair. Then, even if you did just 1/3 of those units, you would get 5,000 megawatts. 5,000 megawatts. That would completely eliminate load shedding in no time. So, it makes me wonder why we keep on wanting to open up another bid window and procure renewables that are not really helpful at the end of the day. When we could easily just refurbish the units that we have at Eskom and bring them into commercial operation and end load shedding, just like that. And of course, complete the two power stations, Medupi and Gusile, and make sure that they operate properly like newly built power stations. If we just did that and nothing else, we would eliminate load shedding. So this makes us wonder whether this is not deliberate, in order to justify the increased penetration of IPPs. This is for us, this is what we're beginning to suspect, because the solutions, as I've indicated now, are very clear, and easy and quick.
Dr. Ramhopa has been going around and doing inspections, looking at this. I mean, what do you make of that, in that it looks like it's somebody who is hands-on? I mean, there's, from a political perspective, there's a lot of questions about the role that he's playing and so on and so forth. But from a user's point, from an ordinary South African's point of view, these visits, are they sending the right message that something is being done, whether we are skeptical or not, in terms of whether this issue will be? Because one day we are told that this thing will be done by December, and then the next thing we're told, well, give us 3 more years, and tomorrow is December. So what do you make of the Minister of Electricity and what he has, well, I guess, tried to implement so far?
Okay. The visits, well, they're just that, visits. No machine gets fixed because, he has visited a power station. After he's visited a power station, work needs to be done by the engineers and the technicians and the artisans in those power stations. So, on the other hand, I must say, though, that it's positive that we have a minister who, sees it necessary for him to familiarize himself with what is actually happening on the ground. So that is a positive thing. But he needs to be careful not to start, breaching some corporate governance principles. Because many of us are beginning to see him being too operational. He's working with Eskom management and especially Eskom generation way too closely. The other day he was even beginning to say that the management of Eskom needs to pay the people at the power station bonuses so that they're motivated to continue to improve the energy availability factor. That's not for a minister to say. Those things are decisions that fall within the responsibility of the executive management, not the minister. So we do have that problem. We do have that problem.
Mthunzi, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming through to speak to us this evening. I appreciate your time and your insight.
Thank you very much.
That is energy expert Mthunzi Luthuli just talking to us there about, well, firstly, the plan by Johannesburg City Power to try and introduce or implement a new system of not load shedding, but load limiting.